Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we are back live streaming again. It's been a minute. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
I'm going to show you how you can create for yourself at home, following along step by step, this acrylic painting of an autumn landscape with dappled light. Oh, my own.
You got your own audio.
I got my own audio that I did not mean to have. See, live.
We're working. It's working.
Proof. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had a little access to the chat, so I have my phone over in the corner. You see me looking over there, that's what's going on. Because it's hard for John on the new system to see chat.
I have a clacky keyboard, I forgot.
And also, John has a very clacky keyboard he would like you to know about. Today, on this class, we're going to be using a 9x12 canvas, because that's nice for the table. We have wishes again. The first one is that you take a creative leap with me. And what that basically means is that you learn like an artist. You're going to listen to yourself. You're going to empathize with yourself. You're going to accept where you are in the art journey. And you're going to be present to that journey. In other words, don't be worried about paintings you had before or paintings that you want to do in the future. Just be here with me today on this painting. And then, of course, paint with me. Also, Lily was wishing for peace and courtesy in the world, having an online job. I'd have to say I wish for that too, man. I remember when that was a thing. And then I'm sending love, and I know a lot of you feel this way, to Anne's brother. Just sending lots of love and healing and hoping everything is going well there. All right. On the paint. You guys ready to know what the paint is?
We're still in the materials list.
Burnt sienna. Burnt, not raw. Burnt. If you didn't know that about paint, it comes in burnt and raw, and I always find that funny. Mars black. Phthalo green, dioxazine purple is back, cad yellow, cad red, phthalo blue, and titanium white. Now, if you have something like Liquitex Basics, yours won't say green shade or blue shade. So this is phthalo green blue shade, and this is phthalo blue green shade. But if you're just on a regular student paint, not a professional paint, you have the correct shade. They default those shades in because they're the easier ones for mixing. I just always include the shade because when people get into professional brands, there's like 3 shades of paint in those colors and it just throws them. Oh my gosh, Johnny, you ready to be live to do this?
Oh my gosh, I'm so not ready.
The patrons have dealt with a lot of terrible lives getting us ready for this, so let's send some love to them right now.
This is what I'd say is we have all of the features of our normal live. They're just a little rough around the edges.
The mobile setup is its own. We're in a suitcase now instead of a whole studio, so it's like different experience.
It's like the first year of a new production car. It's all there, but they haven't worked out the details.
Car. I don't even think we're in a production car. All right. Do you want to see if our step graphics are working?
Hold on. I had to make you disappear first.
Step 1.
Oh, look, we have a 1.
Oh, excellent. That'll help our team timestamp this. We like to chapter and timestamp these so that you guys can find your spot again. It's nice with the YouTube system. It will bookmark them out. And then also that helps us when we're writing the mini books, which are written out instructions for these that we get out a little bit after. Bear with us. It might take us a little bit longer to get these out because we've got a lot going on with all the videos coming up. We are starting out with the big brush. But you don't have to have this big brush. I'm using the big brush because it makes my job here easier. You just want a nice flat brush to get some brown paint smeared out all over your canvas. You ready to smear out some paint all over your canvas? I hope so. I'm going to dip the brush in water, and I'm going to come load a little bit of my just burnt sienna, and I'm going to paint the whole canvas this brown.
Thank you to all the people supporting us in the little patronages and the chats and the stuffs. We see you. I'm multitasking. So
yeah, I think Anne Marie gave us some love early on, and I really appreciate that. Rebecca is wondering if anyone has reached out to Grumbacher about caps breaking. Usually good paint companies will have a customer support, and you can reach out, and very often they will just replace your product. They should be good to you. I know most of the paint companies do that. Some don't. Some of them fly by night ones, but most of the good ones do have some type of customer support. My favorite customer support is the Golan customer support because they'll answer questions about other product.
They want you to win.
They just want you to win so bad. I'm painting on Light Acrylic and Matisse d'Arvon today. Not golden, though, interestingly enough. That doesn't really matter, the paint you have. Now, listen, this thing does not have to be the neat and tidy. What I'm doing is just making sure it's really in the canvas. That's what I'm doing. So that when I do my subsequent layers, you are having a nice, rich depth. That'll help us get the depth this painting really has. All right, so that was the burnt sienna. Don't have to have this exact brush, but if you're wondering about it, it's a number 30 Simply Simmons, extra firm and a short handle. And in bigger brush sizes, that's like the most economical but still quality brush that you can get. They're pretty good. Oh, Deb, thank you so much. I appreciate it deeply. All right. Now, let's dry our surface. Johnny, you ready to throw up another step graphic while I'm drying?
While you're drying?
While I'm drying.
Okay, hold on. I was distracted. Let me see if I can do that while you're drying. Let me think.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure
I'm going to have to get my hairdryer, put it too far away from me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it did.
All right, well, hold on. Let me get...
getting a steps. Step right, step by step. I'm not going to sing the song. It's not good for any of us.
Could be fun, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see if this worked. Let me see. I think it did.
Oh, it did. All right, then I can bend over and get this hair dryer.
She's going to go dry that. I'm going to mute her while we're on step 2. Look at that. We have graphics. They kind of work. This is... So the new system is really cool. You can do lots of cool things. But the book is... It's a big book. So it's like a stereo manual, only for television and YouTubery and broadcast. Actually, I don't think it does television. Like, I guess you could hook this up to a television broadcaster. It has all the same SDI outputs, so I guess you could do that. But it's for intertubes.
The intertubes?
Primarily intertubes. Let me put that out. We don't need that anymore. Hello, you're back.
This is keeping it hot today. Okay, Lynn wants to know if this is my mom's studio. No. It's not my mom's studio.
This is her mom's
I would not touch my
room.
mom's I would not do that to John Little. Please don't tell them I'm not in their studio. We are in what is the dining room?
Yeah, we're in their
while
dining
we're
room.
house sitting waiting to go to Ireland. So that's where we are, and this is our own mobile studio. Like, John had to create something that we could take on a plane because we thought we were going to leave earlier, but then we found out we could not leave as soon as we thought. Have to leave in January.
Well, we could have, but we just wouldn't be able to do anything. So it would be a very expensive couple of months.
Few places that considers YouTube work.
Right. So we couldn't have worked there.
Work on vacation. They don't. Yeah. So we're like, okay, Mom, need a house sitter.
Well,
I'm in my mom's dining room.
There's a weird gray area where maybe we could have, but it
wasn't
wasn't worth. Yeah.
All right, now I'm gonna use this particular brush is a number 18 Raphael Artini, and it's made with hog bristles. Could you use synthetic brushes too? Yes, you could. This is about, this would be like an 8 in my other brushes I had like on Simply Simmons. It's just about, you want something around a 1/2 inch wide, under an inch. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue and my brown, right? And I want you to look straight down at this, and we're going to come make a little mark. Make it with me on the halfway point, and then just a smidge below the halfway point, we're going to wander our hill down. Now, above this line is going to be kind of our background trees and our sky and our really misty effect, and I'm really going to show you guys some tricks on how to do that, how to put like trees far, far away in the mist. It's actually kind of a fun, once you see it, you will have fun doing it every other time. So we have that divided. Now, interestingly enough, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little more brown into this because that grays it more. All right, a little more brown. And you can see that takes it into the gray. And here in the corner, I'm going to go ahead and start laying down a very dark value of this gray. Right, so you might think that you'd make gray with black and white, and that is a way to make gray. Right, I'm just making little rough brush stroke. See how I'm sort of hiding the brush stroke and scumbling in? That's where you go scruffy scruffy with your brush. Now I will come up a bit. I'm not going to define out the trees yet or the sky yet because there's some room in there. I'm just going to start planning and plotting. Scheming in my painting, right? Let's sort of come down right here to about a V, and then we're going to come back up. All right. Can you tell us more about Lifebook when you have a chance, says Carly. Well, while I'm painting these little scruffy things, I will. Lifebook is a year-long transformative creative adventure, generally features about 30 teachers, all of whom are amazing, extraordinary people in their field. It was created by Tamara Laporte. Everybody's very different in their art, and you just meet every week for a new, 2 new art challenges. I've been in it several years. The group is well curated and kind. Nowadays online, that's a big deal, right? My groups are curated and kind. This group is curated and kind. Also, it's got everything. It's got, singing, meditation, health things. It's sort of like art and health in that journey. And right now we are getting ready for what is called the free taster, which is all the teachers give a little class so you can try it out for free before you commit to the year. Pretty cool. And even though the tasters don't stay up indefinitely, if you take part in Lifebook, you get to keep all the access to all the tasters over there. So it's kind of a cool thing. Hopefully my mods have one of the links to it. I'm coming up to the middle of the canvas, and you can see I'm just being very random and soft. This is layer 1. We have lots of layers to think about, right? Lots of things to get into. I might get a little bit of a white into this, just a smidge, and maybe even a little more brown. See, I'm taking it more to the brown. Where there's going to be light coming through the trees, we can really, really kind of play at that, blending it wet into wet. I'm going to wipe my brush off on the paper towel. Sometimes I don't rinse out because I don't want to get rid of the pigment that I have. And I'm kind of come through here. I'm adding a little smidge of white to it, sort of lighting it up. And this is just that first layer. I might even get a little yellow into this mix. It almost biases it a bit green. That's going to give it the distant misty glow. Notice how little yellow I'm getting. This is called paint management, and it's important in painting. It can be a little initially hard to learn, but you can with practice. Remember, we have to not live in paintings of the past or the future, like where you're going to be. You just want to be right now and enjoy the skills you have today. You're learning about skills that will help you in the future. I'm going to come over here. I've added a little more brown, so I'm phthalo blue, burnt sienna, a little titanium white. I can come over here and then even get a little yellow into it. When I come back into my wet paint, you can see that that softens it. Now, because my brush pressure isn't particularly hard, that works very well for me. I can add a little more brown to my brush and darken the base. A little more blue and darken the base. And you just want to enjoy the sound of the brush on the canvas. Getting back into some dark values here. So that's the brown and phthalo blue, the burnt sienna and phthalo blue. Come over real dark up through here, all in the corners. All right. If you need to, I add a small smidgy amount of water to my brush. I don't over wet the brush, just enough to help the acrylic paint flow off. And coming around my little light area, I'm going to go ahead and get a little more white into it and bring this up here. See, just very lightly. And notice that I turn that brush in my fingers. That takes a minute to work out. I can tell you that right now. A little yellow right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, learning how to
Turn it
and getting a natural organic sense of when it needs to be turned.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm doing here is I'm going on the corner of my brush. Right? I want to control the shape and size. You'll see sometimes artists will do a very complicated painting with one brush, and that's really about learning that brush control. Getting a little green in there. Adding the... We just want to start implying that little bit of light, don't we? That misty light in the distant forest. All right, that was a big thing right there, I think, that we took on. Don't you think we took on a big thing there?
Yeah, it seems pretty. Well, I mean, it's a background. It's like a lot of background.
Rinsing out my brush. Okay, let's call this a step, because I think working out this technique here, that is what's going to lead you to what's next. It doesn't need to be dry before the next step. I'm going to sip my coffee.
I will mute you while you sip your coffee. Now I can put you back.
Oh, Betty has a good question when we come back.
There you are.
Betty wants to know if this would be easy to paint in a 16 by 20. Yeah, you could definitely do this in a 16 by 20. Same techniques apply. Just remember, you need to size up your brushes when you size up your canvas. That's really what you do, and you may need to change the aspect ratio. Can you mute me for a second? Let me see
if I can do, whoop, I can make you disappear too. Look at that. Disappeared and muted Sherpa. There you go. Hold on. Whoosh. There you go.
I'm back from outer space.
Toot, toot, toot.
Toot, toot, toot. Okay. Now I'm going to get into a round brush here. Same brush line. This is the Raphael Artini brush line, but a lot of companies make round brushes with hog bristles, or you could just use a stiff synthetic brush. That's okay too. I'm going to come in and start putting in some detailing. First, let's take a little bit of the burnt sienna over to the phthalo blue. Right? We've got the phthalo blue kind of knocked back a bit with the burnt sienna. And we're going to make kind of a nice sky blue color. Isn't that lovely?
It is.
I'm going to use this round brush and kind of really play with the edges of this. Work that back a bit. Get a little water where I need it. Not too much, because it can get away from you real fast. A little more white on there. I think I'll come back and lighten this a bit too. I just want to start getting that. A little bit of blue going, and then I can detail it out. Notice I'm just really scruffling this around.
Yeah.
I'm not being super tidy about it, and I don't need to be super tidy about it. Without rinsing my brush, I'm going to add a lot more white. See if I can't really lighten this up a whole shade. And I think I can. You've got to remember acrylic paint does a thing called color shift where it dries darker than when it's wet. So sometimes you have to kind of mentally go one shade lighter.
Yes. Because
it'll darken into the shade you want. Sassy and Crafty's like, excited we're back. I'm excited we're back, guys. I missed you. I missed you so much. It has been a rough move. This has been the roughest move I think we've ever been through.
Yeah.
And that really says something when you consider what happened to us in Canada. I think also because it was just so physically demanding on John. It was just really physically hard on John. And it was emotionally challenging. And it was just a difficult move. So being able to get back to live has just been...
It took me a lot more time to physically bounce back this time.
It did. It did. It really just threw a monkey wrench in his back, so to speak. All right. All right. I'm just wiggling this brush around. And what I'm using is I have my phthalo blue with a little burnt sienna over here, right? And then when I want to go darker up here at the top, I add a little more of the blue. And when I want to go lighter, I add a little more of the white, and I'm just working this nicely into the canvas. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to rinse this out. And we're going to do a fun thing. We're going to come back into our original dark color, which was our burnt sienna and our phthalo blue, right? This was our gray. And I'm going to add a little here. Let's come up and talk a bit about a branch.
No, it's
The
interesting.
tree coming up.
When you have a chance, if you could talk about sort of the differences between like your process of how. Okay, so let me back up. Lindsay was asking, do you digitally plan all of these paintings?
So what happened was I was away from my studio, and I had my iPad.
What I was going to say is, yeah, it's interesting how there is a hybrid of like, well, you use it, just to get to straight to the point, you use an iPad with a pen, with the Magic Pencil thing.
I do. I use an iPad with Magic Pencil and a couple of softwares.
Yeah, and I just find it interesting that you do
Darkening this down here.
You do digitally work some of this stuff out, but you also do paint it, which I find interesting.
Well, because it's digital painting. So not that Adobe Fresco has a really good painting suite in it. And like the watercolor does blooms, and you can kind of control it and set it. So it's like traditional media, but then not. And then I like Sketchbook. My kids tell me Procreate is better. They're always telling me Procreate is better, but I can't use Procreate. I know Sketchbook. So I use the two that I know. I'm going to come in here. We're going to make we're going to touch our brush to this area, right? And make these bits of bushes, you know, like little leaves and things. We don't want it to be too perfect.
I guess what I was saying is I find it interesting you do work digitally, but not with a mouse.
No, not with a mouse. It is definitely with the touch pen, Apple Pen.
I use a mouse.
John uses a mouse. I couldn't do that. Thank you, Lindsay. So everyone is sure Procreate is a better program. I do Sketchbook, but I'm not necessarily recommending Sketchbook because everybody is super sure that Procreate is better. I do think the Adobe Fresco is really good. And I really appreciate that. I'm going to just keep kind of making this sort of. See, we want to give that sense that there's light coming through, right?
Yeah.
I'm adding a little more brown. And if I paint out all my blue, here's what, I don't have to worry. I can come back and add it back in. That's what you got to remember. Don't panic. You can come back and put it back in. I'm just touching the brush up and down. And I'll come back with the round brush to sort of define branches coming through. But right now we're getting some leaves and basic kind of trunk structures coming in. I'm going to come up and just darken a little bit. So this is sort of implied in there, but it's just a hint. All right, we want to just hint it. Now I can come in with my brown. Right, I've pulled out my burnt sienna. And I'm going to go ahead and add, just interestingly enough to this, a little bit of yellow. Because always in this kind of woodland space, there's a bit of even subtle color shift, and it's important to capture that. I'm going to add a little white to it. Right? That's how we're going to get the mist. The mist and the trees that are in the mist are about using your color, your base colors mixes that you're doing, and adding white or darkening so that they're close in value. And that similarity of value is what makes them feel like they're in a misty environment. So if it's been kind of eluding you how to get there, that's what's been going on. I'm going to come in and kind of make sure that I really missed out this part here. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate it. And Kel loves the fall vibes. I have been loving this color palette. This series has been coming. It's been an emotional time, so we've decided that like whenever I go through a hard time, the paintings get really good. But you got to work out how you're feeling, right? And it can be really hard to to process what's happening in our lives, and that's what art is for. And I'm just deepening this here. Look at that go. And that's just a nice blue. And I think even from here, do the little brown and the little blue. Maybe this time a little bit of yellow, right? Kind of taking it into a sort of turquoise. I'm wiping my brush off on a towel here. And then I'm going to come over with it still having that pigment in the bristles. Lighten this up one more time. Look how, see how we're doing? Let's touch some little bits of leaves, like light coming through. You want light always coming through. The light needs to surface through. Soft pressure on the brush, letting the canvas do my work for me.
You and your mom don't use the same base palette, do you?
Oh, Lindsay says, hype train. Well, what I'll say is that at one time we had exactly the same palette, and then we seem to influence each other's palette. Like one of us will find a color, like dioxazine purple was in my palette because my mom liked dioxazine, but then she moved away from dioxazine. But then I got her like all about the Quinn, and I think we bring each other back and forth. So we have similar and yet different palettes.
But from a student's perspective,
you could probably paint with both of us. And my mom has classes on Monday?
I don't know.
Yes, Monday nights. She's traveling right now on a cruise ship, but the streams are still happening. New classes Monday nights. Like some really cool pansies just dropped. So you could paint with both of us.
Yes.
Very easily. See, I'm just tapping this down. I'm just taking the time to do the work. Let's just take the time to do the work, guys. That's what we're doing. Let's take the time to do the work. Now I'm going to rinse out this brush and put it aside. Right? And I'm going to get back into this big brush I was using earlier, the number 18, the 1/2 inch. And we're going to just hit another little layer here. And I do want it to be more to the brown. I'm getting it more to the brown over here. And where it's deep, we're going to make sure that there's that nice little layer. Let's put out some more burnt sienna. I'm using that much more than my other colors, so I need to add some more. So I'm going to squeeze that out, press that out, and I can add more as I need it. Wipe my brush off on a paper towel, but I haven't rinsed it. Notice that I added some white. So we're going to get some of that misty feeling. We need misty feelings. Some of that misty feeling. Gotta get some mist in it. Just soft, just the tips of this. Just the tips. Press, press, press. Have fun with this activity. Have fun with the activity. Smidge of the phthalo. Phthalo is a very staining color. Yeah. That's why I'm very careful with it. A little bit of the yellow.
Yeah.
We're going to really make sure that there's a glow back in our woods. Soft pressure allows me to make very soft lines, which gives it that out of focus diffused feeling. Add a little brown to it. We're whipping through. We're going to just take the time it takes to paint this so that your painting comes out like the reference. That's what we're doing here.
Right.
We're not rushing. We're just doing the steps. Now, back to phthalo blue and burnt sienna in their darker value here. Coming down, deepening these woods back here. And up top a little bit. can add a little white to it to let there be sort of a fade, but you just definitely want it to be a deep value. A little more brown coming here. Making sure it's okay if there's a bit of sort of a misty smoke at the base of the forest. So I can add a little white there. Kind of misting that up. Now let's get our round back in our hand again. We're rinsing out the other one, wiping off the extra water because we don't want a hot mess everywhere. And let's apply some distant trees. So I'm going to take, this was the burnt sienna, phthalo blue, and white, but stronger into the blue. And apply just a distant little tree. It is distant, isn't it? And it's made to be distant. I'm adding more brown and white to this by the fact that it's just about a shade up from the mist. Now, a little bit darker. I can go a little bit darker, but it still needs to be in that same colorscape and not a much deeper value range. You can imply that these leaves are maybe a little more brown up here. A little bit of bush here. Well, all this is having its moment. I'm going to use my superpower friend. You ready to meet my superpower friend? This fellow. This is a #1 Princeton liner. And it's going to let me kind of get control of some of the little details in the distance. All right. Now let's head over. We're going to use a slightly darker value, which is our burnt sienna and our phthalo blue and not a lot of white. Come over here. Kind of darken that tree. Bring off a little line to the side. You're trying to make little branches. It can be frustrating, I get it. But you do kind of want these implied little fellows. Just a bit. Look at that. Okay, let's look overhead. Like John is letting us look overhead, and we're going to make sure that this tree looks good. Make sure I get a little more brown in it. All right, that's that distant background kind of going on. One last thing. The round brush that we've been using, the #8. Little white, little brown, little bit of yellow. I'll let it mix into that phthalo blue that I have there. We need to kind of pop up the light there, right there at the corner. Really see that coming through. That's our brightness. Add a little yellow. Just tapping it up and down. Doesn't that look good? Yeah. That nice glow. That's a far off glow. Woo! Woo! Let's sip our coffee, call it a step, and move on to the next part of the painting.
All right,
Paula says basically you only wipe when you need to switch to another color and the color on the brush will interfere with. Sometimes I wipe out a different brush to keep the pigment alive. So that's exactly it. Sometimes in paint management, we're trying to keep the color that we have in the brush because it works with our, the area that we're painting. And sometimes we really need to switch out and get fresh color. So it's a matter. And the other thing to remember is just keep washing those brushes between use, like really rinsing them out, because you don't want to leave acrylic paint to dry on your brushes. It will destroy them. Did you step us?
I did.
You stepped us? I love that you stepped us. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of put down another little layer of color in my burnt sienna. I'm going to take my burnt sienna, and this is going to surprise y'all, and I'm going to add a little Doc's purple to it. Sometimes I use Doc's purple in place of black.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you
do that before. A little more
before.
purple down here in this color. Oh, excuse me.
And Kisa would like to know if you could review your color palette.
Oh, absolutely. Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Blue, Cad Red Medium, Cad Yellow Medium, Dioxazine Purple, Phthalo Green, Titanium White. John is going to go get a cup of coffee while I paint in this deeper layer. Oops, my mister. If you're wondering what this is a micro mister. They're actually facial misters, but it's nice just to keep the paint from drying out on my wet palette even. I'm not going to put in quite yet my light plan because I've got to get my trees really in. Dioxazine Purple, Burnt Sienna. Now maybe I'll get a smidge of black over here because this is so much darker, in this corner. I don't want to use a lot. I'm not trying to deaden the color. I'm just deepening the value. So it's called shading, and I'm shading it. When I come up towards the top, it's okay if I'm a little more into the brown. And then I will just scumble the rest of this out. Because it doesn't need to be perfect. We're just trying to get enough depth that when we build up the leaves in light, we're not working that hard for it. Right? Now I'm going to rinse this out thoroughly. And I'm going to go to a number 4 Simply Simmons round, right? I'm going to take my black and my brown together this time, right? So it's Burnt Sienna and Mars Black. We're going darker. For this will be, pretty dark. I'm going to come right here just on the other side of my tree, but it's a little bit past this line where the landscape is meeting the backwards brush. I'm flipping my brush over, loading it in, and I'll make it first like a little plan coming up, just bring it up. Doesn't have to be totally perfect line at this stage because I know I've got lots to do. All right. Then I'm going to bring it over a little bit towards my right. Now here's the big trick with trees. They got to be just a little thicker at the base and ever thinning as they go up. So your trunk should be thickest at its base, narrowest at the top, and every branch coming from it should be narrower than the trunk it is attached to or branch it is attached to. And you just want to kind of keep that going in your mind, right? So we're bringing that there. That's looking pretty good. Again, burnt sienna. I'm saying it like so. Burnt sienna. Man, that's got like a on it, doesn't it? All right. Oh, the butcher's wife is like, Amy, you've missed my joke. So like, we do miss the jokes. We've got a group that always brings joke. Amy's part of that. The bug is, butterfly is. We have a lot that of people who kind of come and bring the humor. And goodness gracious, don't we need that nowadays? We need a little joy. Now I want to plant a little friend. This is sort of a sister tree. And this is important because in wooded areas, you would have trees next to each other, wouldn't you? Well, it is. Well, it could be, but given the size of these being the same time, they would be a sister tree. That's it.
True.
John and I watch the same nature channels.
I can't hear me though. I'm just rapping.
Oh, okay. You guys can't hear John. Just talking to my imaginary friend. You guys are my imaginary friends. So this value that we want needs to be darker than this value. And what might happen is, like, once you see these trees here, you may come back with your small hog brush that you've been using, the round one, the number 6, and come back into those background tree colors, but with just a little bit of white into it to lighten it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap this up and down so that it stays leafy. Keep it leafy. Right? We're not trying to paint a stripe between them. We are just improving the contrast between the dark value and the light value. Right? So we're going to just come here. Again, that's what's going to give us a little bit of a misty effect. And we're going to enjoy that so much this Halloween. Our misty effects, our glows. Let's come on the other side a little bit. Now here's a fun thing. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and a little bit of my cad yellow, but my brush is dirty. Look at that. The brush is super dirty. It's got the burnt sienna phthalo green mix that I was just using with a little bit of white. And I'll come here and add this, and it's going to just imply a little far off autumn color. Look at that, doing that. It's subtle, but it's a big deal. Right? Sometimes you got to be subtle. Rinse that out. Love those brushes for making those little leafy leaves. Moderator Cad Red is catching some people up on the history of the show. We've been on for about 7 years. In the original Goldilocks brush was a number 10 Simply Simmons extra firm long handle. Mm-hmm. And then I made brushes with silver brush for a period of time. Those are sold out everywhere now. And we called one of those brushes Goldilocks, and we just created a very extra firm kind of filament for that. It was actually called Sherpa White was the trademark on that, on that filament. And I'm sure we're going to get back to that again. We just kind of got a little delayed by COVID.
Well, yeah, I would say that COVID threw a big wrench in our ability to develop product. But, you know, now that things are a little clearer and more stuff's happening.
More stuff is starting to happen. It's kind of an exciting time for us.
You just have to hang around over the next few weeks and see. There's stuff.
There is so much stuff. All right. Adding a little more burnt sienna on my palette, coming here and getting my Mars Black and mixing these two together with my number 4 round Simply Simmons brush. This is a synthetic brush with a firm filament. I've added just a drop of water just to improve the flow. And I know I've got this big tree here. So let's put this guy in right now. That way we kind of know where the relationship of everybody is. Bird stroke, but he's going to kind of wander over. Easy to thicken a tree, hard to thin it. They don't go on easy tree diets any more than I do. Diets are hard. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. I don't like to put my trees on a diet either. See how we're just thickening that line?
Yeah.
Right. You keep coming here. You add more black if you want it to have more value that's dark. And I want it to be about 1 inch thick at the base. Now coming up here, we're going to take a branch out where it wanders out. This is another fairly large support structure within the tree. But this one is slightly bigger than its little friend. And this will let me come over and get a little more of my burnt sienna and my black. And plant kind of diagonally up from this one, another little sort of thin tree. Thin tree. It's thin tree. I love planting trees. They're just upward lines. We'll get into the branches a little bit. Sometimes branches, when you're new, can be challenging. Guess what? Be empathetic with that. You're new. Accept that. It's okay for it to be challenging. They become easier the more that you do them. totally how painting works. You paint a lot, the skills start to become easier, stuff starts to come to you more naturally, but it is something that you learn over time. Very few of us just get on a bike and ride it. I know I didn't.
Not a common
Oh,
thing.
Raheel, hey! I miss seeing you in the chat. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I bet it is late where you are. I do check my world clock a lot. One of the things that we've been talking about, like when we're going to Ireland, is how we are going to manage the time differences and when I have to go live there to be the most convenient for everybody here. So weirdly, it actually will be similar for everybody, but a weird time for us when we get over there.
Right.
All right, now my black is still on my brush, but I'm going to come over to this brown blue mix that I had that has a little bit of white in it. See how it does? Because I'm wanting to make a tree that looks like it's a little bit in the distant mist. Just load up the tip so that the paint flows off nicely. Sometimes those filaments want to separate and you're going to come back in and be like, no. Just doing this right here. Getting a nice kind of, ooh, I'm a foggy tree. Foggy tree in me. Little brush off to the right. And then maybe a little more brown black into it, and its little friend will be right here. I like to make their little trees kind of unruly. That guy. We're just making some headway, aren't we?
Yeah.
Back into my black and brown. Black and brown. Right, kind of darker here, rolling it off. That's the thing that I do with my brush is I roll it. It helps load it to the tip and it moves paint out of the belly. And we're going to come over from these guys. This will be a little bit down. Has a little friend here. Wanders a bit towards the right. Still pretty thick though in the trunk.
Yeah.
Thick in the trunk. The reason we cluster up trees like this is again because generally when they drop from their mother tree, they come together in little groups and then they thrive and then generally eventually one becomes the primary tree.
Aha.
Right, so not going to get the little branches in yet. I'm just going to put those in with a smaller brush. Just doing an upward stroke. My pressure's stronger at the beginning of the stroke and then releases on the way through.
Huh.
In other words, I'm sort of lifting up from the canvas. It can be kind of hard to feel when you're new. A little brush over there and then maybe a little one there. Kind of came in. And then we need a big one. This one is much bigger. And is kind of, you know, here down a bit from the other two. It's a more substantial, it's a substantial one. A little bit of brown and black again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're just doing some tree work, aren't we?
Really are.
Just all the tree work is happening right now.
All of the tree.
All the tree work. That was a lot. So let's come back. Do we have enough steps?
We have lots of steps.
Oh, good. So let's come back and put in some little branches and some highlight lowlights to help these trees pop out from their little world. Step 5 to keep you alive. I'm gonna sip some drink.
You sip some drink, and we will mute you while you sip your drink.
I'm gonna
Unmute you now.
rinse my brush a little bit to kind of reactivate it. This is the #1 Princeton liner. I'm mixing my brown and black again. And I'm going to come over here. And then from about, oh gosh, a couple inches down from the top, Bring a little branch over. Make fine little lines sort of coming off there because they do. Little branch that comes out towards the left as they do. Maybe one that comes down. They're just messy branches. You just have no idea. It's important to realize that, you know, they send out a lot of little exploratory moments here and there.
Yeah, they do.
It's interesting. You will find if you do the digital painting and the traditional painting, and I think it's a good way to go because digital painting allows you to iterate many changes in your design and see them all the way through. But recreating what your brush wants to do in like a digital painting, because it's so easy to just sample, grab, go.
Right.
And here you've got to, this is your sampling, right? That's your sample. Oh no, he's died.
What's that?
What's
that? Oh.
I had it the wrong way.
Yeah, do you charge it?
No, I just had him upside down.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to just let a little mist get out here while I'm doing this. Let's put a little branch out here to the side. Can you mute me for a second? I'm back. Sometimes I swallow a lot of air while I'm teaching. Oh, Robin Collins is a member for 2 months of Emoji Chat. Congratulations on your 2 months membership. That's a good time for everyone.
I have little buttons where I can now come over here and see some stuff. I can't see all the stuff, but it shows me some stuff now.
It does?
Right. Like I can I see? Say like Phyllis, she's been a member for a year. Robin's been a member for a month. CB's been here for 6 months.
I'm going to go ahead and get some white in there so that these branches kind of also
Kathy's been here disappear. A year. Wow, I can see some stuff. I can't see everybody, but I can see some things.
Oops. You got some things going on,
sorry,
but
guys.
not all things.
I was distracted. I was looking at you, not at the screen.
Oh, it's okay. I'm going to put a little tree kind of, it's got a little white in it, so it'll kind of vanish into the mist, but just a little bit of a distant fellow. Getting all these little... Now we've got lots of leaves and things to do, so there'll be some work, and these are just those ones that are tiny little branches. Coming off to the right. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my same hog bristle brush that's a little bit wet and damp still. I'm going to add my burnt sienna to my Mars black and a little bit of phthalo blue, and then I'm going to smidge just a smidge of white into it. Too much white. So it's just finding that, again, sampling. I'm just adding a bit of, you know, it's not just a dead color here. These two are big ones that are up front here. It's a subtle touch. You'll appreciate it later when visually you're looking. You know, I think always get some white going. Maybe a little blue in there. More brown.
Oh, there you are.
And I'm just going to tap some lighting in here, which is also going to help these trees sort of show from their background. Look at that. Sometimes you go in and you're just like, oh, hey. think that looks pretty nice. We made some headway. All right. Got them little branches in. Those are hard. Those are challenging in a lovely landscape. Let's start putting in some of the leaves and some of the work that happens down here. We'll come back. I'm going to sip my drink. We'll come back and we'll put in some more landscape. Are you guys doing okay? Let's take a deep breath and let the tension out of our bodies. Whatever's got your goat, it don't got your goat right now. You're in the studio. You're okay.
Goat should be grazing.
Goat should be grazing while you're painting. I like that. Goat should be grazing while you're painting. Don't go get your goat. Let your goat graze. Did you give them steps?
There's a step right there.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
All right, now you're back.
I'm back. Let's come and get a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow, and we're going to make a nice little mid orange. Get a little burnt sienna into it. And I want you to come along here between this tree and that other tree, and we're going to kind of tap our round brush. This is still that number 8 Art hog brush. You can use any round you have. I like this brush, but it is not, there are other brushes. It's one of those things where sometimes I have recommendations, but I don't want you guys to ever feel, let's come between the trees. I like come in between the trees a little bit. Doesn't go too far down. Maybe a little bit this way. A little more brown on my brush, and I can come forward. It's dark again here, right? So you know what? Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go brown and purple. Let's go brown and purple in our shadows. We'll like that so much better. No idea. I'm gonna come down in these deep shadows where these sort of like little areas are. Just going to make that a dark color with my purple. And this motion is really letting the leaves feel like they're falling on the ground. We want them to feel like they've fallen on the ground. I'm rinsing out. It's all good. A little more yellow into my cad red. I just have to watch the water amount on my little brush here. Can always get burnt sienna into it. This is sort of the first of the placing of light areas. Here's what's happening with your dappled work when it doesn't look dappled. Dappled light captures different value scales across the leaves. And when you're trying to get it dappled, what we're going to have to do is pick up just a few in the highest highlights. So all of these layers is really for the frosting at the end, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Butcher's wife says a bad joke's coming. And then, oh, thank you, Robin Cones. Will you post the brushes on your site? I'm new to Raphael 10 handle ones. I have the dark handle ones. I think I have them in the Amazon store. Moderators tell me if I'm wrong. I believe I found them on Amazon and put them in the Amazon store. In the e-commerce store that's coming, they will be available there.
Yes. So many things available.
So many things. Just coming along here. I'm just using the yellow now. I've got lots of values to do. This is just a nice kind of middle range to start talking about. Did you know that there's highlights here?
They're very
and this one kind of
highlighty.
comes across the back here. Right? Now this guy maybe has a little bit of one that kind of comes up here from it. We're going to start putting in a very complex pattern of shadow and highlight. Just add a little more orange to it.
Yeah.
I went and got into my brown and purple, but I didn't rinse. It creates some interesting dynamics. Get back into my yellow red here. We're going to definitely say that there's some of this coming down this way. All right. And I miss you guys too. I miss you guys so much too. I love seeing the messages. Panda Puffs. I see someone's talking to Panda Puffs, and I see Carol, who's screaming "Mad Cow." I don't know why.
I had my other window pop up there.
I don't know why. When we're just tapping this up and down, we're going to make a little bit. As we go down further, I'm going to just get a little more into my red here. You cannot believe how powerful Cad Red and Doc's Purple is together. So I just put some of that in there. That's just a wonderful way.
It's the power of CAD.
It is the power of CAD. Now I'm going to take a little CAD and a little Doc's Purple, and we're going to say, hey, coming back from this, and it's going to be a little bit wider as it goes back, and a little bit down from this, and then see, I'm going to tap around the tree, which makes the tree feel like it's in some leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Little CAD Red, little Doc's Purple, a little more Doc's Purple. Just loosely kind of up and down. Look at that, just up and down. A little more.
I'm not sure if I understand that, Deanne.
Hmm.
Would it take forever if you did the teardrop leaf? Not sure what that's means.
Oh, a teardrop leaf stroke.
Oh, to do all the leaves? Oh.
You know, it's a busy painting. So if you like a teardrop leaf stroke and that's where you feel more comfortable, I don't think it would hurt the overall design of the painting at all.
It's sort of like pointillism. If you like that, you could do it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a bit like pointillism. But right now, we're just trying to make sure that we've got some nice light coming down. Kind of comes down thinly. You can see I go back into it. So I'm trying to create a little strip there. I've got a little strip there. I'm getting kind of a dark space between these trees.
Not easy.
Yeah. I will get some, I'll work some of that into the yellow here. And then, you know, back into this because this kind of comes up here. You got to realize, like, in a forest, there's a lot of light coming down. Trunks are blocking it. Branches are blocking it. Canopy is blocking it. So there isn't, like, just a formula of, like, this is the only way you would see the shadow. You would see the shadow present in many different ways. Just because, you know, trees be treeing. A little more Cad Red into that Doc's Purple.
Now, if you're painting with cadmium paint, is using rubber gloves overboard?
No. A lot of people have allergies to cadmium paint. So far, all the science says that cadmium is not absorbable through your skin, especially artist cadmium. It's coated. They even say you could swallow it. Do not swallow it. Definitely don't smoke in your studio if you use cadmiums. That's very super duper dangerous. Do not heat cadmium paint for any reason. But for the most part, just don't do that.
Just don't do that.
Just don't do that. But for the most part, it's made so that you can paint with it safely, and it's going from your palette to your brush. A little gets on your skin, you can wash it after. And again, they all say that it's not bioavailable. All I'll say about that is, while I do believe absolutely that art companies do not want to kill their consumer, people make mistakes. So it's okay to put on gloves.
Just better. No point. No reason why not to err on the side of.
You have any
caution.
Concerns? It's just not a big deal because, you know, you never know. I should go to a doctor and get a cadmium test. Give you all the results. The problem with cadmium tests is if you smoked or you work in certain industries, you can have quite a lot of cadmium in your body.
Yeah.
You know, and we forget that those things are also impactful. I'm just adding kind of like a lighter value. So those are things that we're just always fighting with. I'm getting a little yellow and red in here. And I know I'm going to have this kind of come down. I'll make the little streak down to follow. And we're going to just smudgy this around. Yeah, like that. Got a little more red in it and gives us a little more orange.
Gets orangey.
Gets a little orangey, and that's okay.
That's cool.
So we're going to come back and... Yeah, it's totally all right. Little Doc's purple there. And again, I've got my Doc's purple on here. And I'm going to be pretty aggressive with it here because the shadow is very deep. It's probably the deepest of the painting, which is okay. It's the contrast. I have articles on what's known about cadmium. If anybody's interested and wants to read those, I have written some stuff and given you guys where the links to what is currently known about artist cadmium. And artist cadmium is not the same as cadmium paint from the automotive or home industry.
Right.
It is most dangerous to the people making it, which is why it's one of your most expensive colors on your palette. Is because they have to take such strong precautions because it's when it's in its pigmented powdered form.
Yeah.
That's when it gets in your lungs. You know, I'm adding just a little bit of red into that purple just because, you know.
Yeah.
Can. Just kind of letting myself know where these little trees have stuff afoot. Giving myself a little pattern, so I'm coming down, you know, maybe coming back. I can definitely like leaf tap that out, but it just lets me make sure that I'm getting good.
Yeah.
Good reactions. Look at us making leaves. More purple in that. Getting that first pattern down on this leaf thing, that's where it is. It's like, you see, I gave it to you guys in the traceable, so it would be easy for you if you were using the traceable.
Right.
Thank you. Who said it was amazing? Daisy May. How are you doing today, Daisy May?
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not going to rush through this, guys. We're just going to paint it. We're going to paint it until it's the beautiful dappled light painting that we're all hoping to have in our lives. Right? I don't mess around with y'all's fall landscape paintings. You know me. We don't mess around. We give you the good.
Do it.
Oh, by the way, if you're in the patronage, be sure and go by and vote on what the next patron painting is. We got the cute fat bear, the twisted fall tree, and the fall floral. And you want to vote on that so you guys know what your patron painting is going to be. And then you can be like, I got a patron painting. All right. That's a layer. We got that first sort of patterning layer in. Look, we can see the light coming through, can't we?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to switch my water. My water has been getting a little dirty, so I'm going to get some cleaner water. That's something that you can do to really help your paint stay bright, is have water. Let's call this a step. We'll come back and continue futzing around.
Let's see here. Call it a step. Let's see. Psh, look at that. We have a step. And we're back. Okay.
C Blanton's like, fall tree. It is a good tree. But it's a cute fat bear. And it's a good floral. They're good. They're good. It was almost tough. I felt kind of bad. I was like, I should probably just do all of them because they're all so good. We have so much Halloween going on. Maybe you will get all three. I don't know. You know, Honey has agreed to be my co-host. So that we can get more patron in. Which is super sweet of Honey.
More patron.
More patron. I'm going to take my yellow over to here. Now, understand I've had a little bit of brown get in there, a little bit of purple in there, and a little bit of red get in there. So as I'm mixing, and this is something important when you're watching my show, when you're watching anybody's show, and you're looking at their palette, and you're trying to get a sense of what the color is, sometimes an area that we're mixing in has had many visits from many different colors, and we're looking for that complexity. I just got some purple to gray it a bit. Come here and touch again. That nice little highlight along that back tree. It's sort of glowing, and I want to get that glow. And some of that glow is about that outer ridge, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Touch, touch. Just touching it down. See how I'm just touching it down kind of makes it look like fallen leaves?
It really does. Just adds that little bit of...
Just a little bit of thought there that this could be. You know, and I may need to get like this brushing, which has a finer point, to do some of the fine lines of leaves.
Mm.
Now, let's get a little white over here. A little more yellow and a little bit of white. And we're going to start to create that dappled look. So I got a little bit of that, just a smidge here, not far in. It won't be my lightest value. The light doesn't catch every leaf. So what you don't want to make is TV snow. Right? TV snow is that sort of random but consistent through the entire picture, a little splattering. You need to create, oh, thank you, Connie. That is really sweet. Thank you so much. I have missed you guys too. You know, it's about randomizing and finding a few superstars. Right? You don't want them all to be superstars. So I just added a little bit of yellow to that. See, I'm making little different superstars. And already you can see a little bit of dappling. Now I added a little more yellow, and so where I dapple here, it's got to be darker than that bright white. It's still dappled. Wiping off. Taking a little white to my color. It's not pure white, but it's pretty bright. Just barely, just barely little bits of the brush, right? It's just a little bit. How you guys doing?
Really good. It's a Connie party.
It's a Connie party. Thank you for the Connie party. I love seeing you guys chat. I swear, I love this community. I want you to know I love you because you guys are kind to each other. I think in all the years I have ever been online, there's only 2 times where I've ever seen the community kind of go pear-shaped. Mostly you guys are so like, how can I help? How can I encourage? And I'm so proud of that. Look at us dappling that light here. Now,
it's very dapply.
If we want these distant trees to have some, I'm going to get a little more yellow into this one. I just definitely have to kiss some light back there through those leaves. A little more into my orange, perhaps. More red, a little more yellow. Still lighter. A little bit of a touch here. Now I'm going to take a lot of my yellow, and get a smidge of my green. That's why I didn't put out a lot of green, but where we got the green, you need the green. Look at that. Does that tell you about some leaves that are in that yellow-green range? Is it a big deal? Kind of is, I think. A little more into my red, kind of widening out this little dapple of light. Get a little more red into it. A little purple. I'm going to try to do it with just this brush. We'll see if we can. Talk about a little bit of shadow going up. I think it's important to even have the like little ribbons. My goodness, aren't we working hard?
Yeah.
We're working hard. I rinsed out. I'm going to sip my coffee and we're going to keep going because this is just the work it is.
It is. This is just the
This is
Dappled
just
Ligh
the work it
painting.
is.
It's the painting the light painting day.
This is when time lapse is your friend. Are we making time lapse of this one?
Yeah.
Yay! So you guys will get
Oh
to
wait,
see.
no, not this one.
Mm.
I was too scrambly. Next time.
All right. Now, as I'm going further out, you know, I can darken in. I did not. Can you ask me?
Sherry says, "Is a round brush the best for a dapple technique?"
I think you can do it with a bright on the corner, but I feel like the round lets me have the most control over what's going on. So like if I have a square and I have a round, I'm going to grab the round. If I only had a bright, I could work the bright out, but I would be like definitely feeling the struggle. I'm going to get a little bit of my darkest purple here, and you can see making that deeper shadow. A little red, and because the docks is in there, there's like this brown that comes out of it, but it's like the best fall brown.
It's a very nice fall brown.
It works out really well. Get a little red. See how when I go and get colors and I rinse out every once in a while because the light is coming in and you've got to have it together.
I like how it spills across the floor there.
Spills across the floor.
Across the floor.
I'm adding a little white and yellow to the center mix. If it makes you feel any better, this isn't any faster to do digital. It's the same fuzziness. There's not a trick for it.
Mm-mm.
It's just to make a lot of little dapples. But what we're doing, if you'll notice,
Is dappling.
is we're dappling. And that's how the leaves look like they have some very specific. I can get some little cad yellow in there and it'll really pop. See, that just feels like a little light, doesn't it? And then a little more white into it. And the trick will be just don't overdo. How do we not overdo? But right here. And a little patch of those green leaves.
That looks so nice. I like how bright it gets. Deanne thinks it's awesome too.
Thank you, Dean. I'm enjoying this quite a lot. All right, rinsing out a bit. I feel like we've done so much here. I want to call it. Do we have enough steps for me to call this a step and come back and do some more? Because this was a lot, right? This was a lot for you guys to get in. You worked for this.
Let's go.
Worked hard for this.
Look, there's an 8. The 8th step.
Breathing in deeply. Take a sip of my drink.
I will mute you while you sip your drink. And now it's back.
And now we're back.
There we go.
From outer space. I'm going to come here and pull a little of my yellow and my red out, kind of to a clean area. Again, we're going to have it dirty in a minute, so I'm going to come right here and just start painting in that highlight that's coming up.
Clacky, clacky, clacky.
Hmm?
Typing. Going clacky, clacky, clacky.
So over to my purple.
Yep.
Don't forget, like, you'll want to do weird bright spots even here in the shadow. Though they won't be like the bright highlighted spots, but they're dappled. That's another thing. Like sometimes people will get the lines of the light and the shadows, but they don't get all of the color that's in the shadow.
Right.
And the shadow has a lot of color. I haven't rinsed my brush and I'm just getting into the purple. Anything that's brighter than could be there, I'm just knocking back. Little green, little yellow. Look, just a little bit right there. These are touches, but they matter. They're not the bright highlights, but that's what dapples it.
Yeah.
So we've just got to, we've got to keep going. It's kind of a nice green brown happening here. Yeah, focus bit of light that's happening there, and then a little bit on the edge. Rinse it out.
It's really, really nice.
It's super fun to do.
Colors just pop together.
We're making a little spot of light right there. But not everywhere. Not everywhere. But I rinsed out and I'm back to my yellow and red orange. Okay, a lot more red. It's almost like a little dagger going across there. Yeah, get into this lighter color. Touch it lightly. Like Holly go lightly. Touch it lightly. There we go. Just trust yourself. That's the listen. Listen to yourself.
Just listen.
Is John's voice quiet today, or is it just me? Asks Asher Rogers.
I don't know. I may be a little quiet. I may be also not being loud. You know.
It's hard to be boisterous. A little bit of purple and a little bit of red.
Also, my microphone, it picks up all the background noise, so I have a tendency to turn it off so that you don't hear, like, the wind blow.
It's also important to add shadows into your highlights. Right? What shades them? Okay, good. Got a little stronger red there, just kind of coming up in that diagonal stripe, capturing that. And into a little yellow. And red. But I haven't rinsed, so the purple kind of like tones that down, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Little purple red here.
A little bit there.
Little purple red up here. Break up that little line. That's what you got to do. You got to break up those little lines.
Yep.
You got to also put the trees in the leaves. Oh my gosh, look at this come together. It's just, does it not make you happy in your heart?
I think it's cool.
Man, I miss doing this. I think this whole thing with digital painting has got me thinking about that question about artificial intelligence and whether that will harm art or not. And I got to realizing, like, I think that there'll always be, John and I have been saying this, I think there's always going to be room for people who do traditional painting. Because this is just so fun.
Oh, sure.
Right? Like, I don't have any mess if I'm on my iPad and I'm I don't have a cleanup. Right? It's just I can go as late as I want and it's in my lap and I can zoom in so I can have the best vision. Everything about it is in some ways a superior experience. But this is more fun for me. This challenge of my brush and water and pigment and finding it, it's just the best. And I think that that's what's important to realize is that this is just, I could see, John and I do think it'll impact the video game industry quite a lot. The artists in the video game industry will probably take a hit.
Right.
I think definitely. I'm just kind of extending that shadow there. I'm going to come here with a little purple in here and also touch up maybe a little. See, just kind of increase that value there. Little lines.
What's wrong?
No, I'm loving it.
Oh.
Nothing's wrong.
Like,
I'm just loving it.
What?
Amy Overt says, tell me you saw my super chat message. I see that CJ Chambers came to...
Can we read it for you?
Yeah.
It says, Cinnamon, you've been posting up Halloween paintings. I've been trying to figure out how I would do them in watercolor. Ha ha.
Very differently. I've actually been kind of looking at that, if I could get that same kind of feeling going in watercolor. I have some experimental stuff that may be coming your way.
Oh.
Oh, and no guarantees it's going to be good. No, it's good.
You're always good.
It's always good. Much like I've been doing here, though, I've been kind of using the watercolor setting on the fresco. And so it will be a matter. I'm taking my cad red, my dock's purple, and I'm coming between these shadows and kind of some of them darker, some of them lighter, creating value. And then I'm going to come right back in here and make some orange. And
I used to play World of Warcraft.
you did.
I was a big World of Warcraft player.
Yeah. Like all the guys that worked on that might hurt them. Though there will probably be some game studios that choose never to go to AI. We're going to do a video about this, but I think the biggest misunderstanding about AI is that it's taking people's artwork online and mashing them together because they think they see signatures or watermarks. What's actually happening is the AI thinks since it'll be like, oh, this is a painting, it should be a signature, and he goes, I don't know, something.
Connie was asking what if I played video games, and she plays World of Warcraft. We have some World of Warcraft paintings.
We do have some World of Warcraft paintings. We have one 5-hour painting of
the dragon.
And then John did a Murloc. Yeah, you did. I'm adding little bits of highlight now between these trees.
Murlocs are your friends.
They're your friends. So we've done that.
You must protect the turtles. Help them get to the water.
Let's put a little, I'm going to put a little patch of light right there. Just going along. Get in the light. Get in the light. I've really been loving this 13 days. I'm excited about doing the corgi tomorrow too, because I miss our corgi.
The corgi.
The corgi, the memorial painting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. As I come down, I'm going to get more into the red. I'm adding more cad red into my mix. Right? You can see me getting more cad red. Coming down, and it's just beautiful. Little touches it. Don't you love how the light's just coming out?
I really do.
It makes sense now how stuff dapples, doesn't it?
Trish was like, we need a Master Chief painting.
Master Chief painting. Tapping with some, I added a lot more yellow to my brush.
I would not be sad for one.
Neither would Spider. I gotta get caught up on some paintings though.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody some star gnomes and manatee for patrons. That beautiful heart that you saw go up, that is painted and recorded, and John is editing right now. If you like that purple and pink heart, that is going up, and I'll put it out on the schedule soon. I know I'm going to get a little white over here and get a little yellow into it. I need to rinse out my brush. So sometimes when you're working with natural brushes, as you paint, they become like umbrellas. And they just flare out. And you've just got to rinse them out and wipe them off and kind of reshape them.
Huh.
I'm going to go back to that yellow and white there.
Zoom in there.
Just creating a little bit of extra poppy light. Just down there, some. Just catching little leaves where I can. A little bit of yellow right there. right in that one. You know, if it gets away from you, just come back with some red. A little bit of orange and red there. So the cad yellow and the cad red mixed into the area where we've been. You can see we just keep getting into those areas where we have color already. Just lightening them up. And you can see what I mean by color shift, that as the paint dries, sometimes I come back and I brighten it.
Yeah.
With a little bit of cad red and cad yellow. Just the cad red and cad yellow. Just brighten it. It's okay to brighten things. Nobody minds. Well, maybe somebody minds, but I don't think they're watching this show. I don't think anyone's watching the show. So can you see how it's by not letting it be, you know, a TV screen, right? We're not letting things be a TV screen. We are, you know, really thinking about how we're doing it now.
So just amazed how it turned out.
Smidge of green over to this area that has yellow, but remember there's a little cad red there, so what's it going to do? It's going to knock back that yellow green and take it into that fall color. That's the trick for green in fall.
Yeah.
Is it has a hint of orange in it.
Ah.
A little bit right there. So I just touched it there. Finding little spots. I'm listening to myself. This is looking pretty amazing.
It really is.
Gonna take a little of my red and a little of my docs, kind of together. Make sure that my shadow is as beautiful as my highlights. Don't underpaint your shadow. You have weird little highlights in the shadows. That's so important. That's that localized color. Localized color. So tonalism says that I just glaze this with a dark color, right? I just put a dark color down and that's the shadow. Localized color is a plein air kind of concept where you observe that it is a darkening of what's there, but it's the color that's there.
Right.
It's not a new and separate dark color. Now, weird kind of touch up that I'm going to want to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my #1 monogram liner and my yellow. So white and yellow. In the distance. I'm adding just a little, because you see this is far away, and the leaves are smaller. I'm just making sure that there's a little bit of like lightness. Not everything, right? Just
Right.
some. Just here and there. Find a little highlight. A little leaf here and there. That's that sparkling light. Where it feels like the forest is glitter.
Yeah.
I really love this painting.
It really is. Awesome.
We're really glad we decided to do it. I think we're ready for the corgi on Saturday.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in here waiting for that.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Okay. Look at that. This looks like it's alive, doesn't it?
It really does.
Step, sir. Step and sip.
Okay, we can do that.
All right. I got to catch up to chat. All right. Gwen, the raw vegan, says, what's the best mix for emerald green? I've tried to find a good mix that I really like. Well, Gwen, I think that phthalo green blue shade with cad yellow light makes the brightest green.
Yeah.
The brightest green. Because the reason is because their biases are the same.
Right.
So you can super elevate and lighten and deepen the green.
Right.
So I feel like it's all in the phthalos to me personally to get into the
sense.
emeralds. Because it has that blue bias. And then you can hit it with the yellow highlights to create that glow that you see in those greens. All right. Guess what we have left, sir?
What's that?
The pretty leaves.
Yep.
Just the pretty leaves.
I like the leaves.
Just the leaves. Now, I want these branches to be kind of fine branches. So I'm going to get my little blue and brown and black together again. And my small, tiny #1 monogram brush. I'm making a light line. I'm thinning it with water. You can see me sort of rolling this out. Making sure it's it's deep, right?
Yeah.
Just coming over here, very light on the toe, stroking it, going out to the sides, right? These are fine little branches. I know I'm coming in and adding leaves, and I will come back and add branches within the leaves. We're just making sure that the structures that we're seeing have something to hang on. Can't hang on the leaves if there's no branch to hang on. Okay, so we have that basics kind of like, oh, I'm a leaf out. I'm going to get my round brush again because I just really like these.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my cad red and my cad yellow together. I'm going to touch a little leaf up there. Add a little purple to it. See, that darkens it?
Yeah. Happy birthday, little brush, Asher.
Happy birthday, Asher! It must be a good birthday. I hope you're getting all the loves and all the funs.
Mm-hmm.
Just the purple and the cad red now. It's kind of these will be darker and further back. That's why we're okay with it.
Right.
All right. At this point in fall, the leaves are sort of, hanging on. If you want, super tidy leaves, you can come back and do your teardrop stroke like we talked about earlier. you know, but I kind of I like this. I like my fall to be messy.
Mm-hmm.
A little more red over here, and so you can kind of take some more into the red. I'm going to come back with some yellow, but I'm going to just take my time and make sure that my fall feels fall-like. Let your fall fall.
It will be fall.
It will be fall.
The
Just the
shadows are
cad
so
red.
cool.
They just, it's just a joy.
It is.
It's so much fun. Just touching it so lightly. Not, here's the thing. Sometimes, I'm going to tell you a secret about Hoots. It's not that a one hooter couldn't do a 3-hoot painting. It isn't. But what happens to one hoots in the 3-hoot painting is that this is long.
It is a lot.
And you have to stay present in each leaf, and you can't get impatient, and there's a lot of little mixes going on. They're all mixes that you can do. You are capable of every technique you see here.
Mm-hmm.
But in 3-hoots, we're going on longer. We're doing more little mini mixes in there. We're a little lighter with our brush stroke. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I could never do this. You absolutely can. If it feels a little overwhelming right now, just know that's not forever.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my leaf mix here to my background color, as you saw. And what that does is it pushes it back into the woods. Because it's the, you know, similar value. Kind of like the misty forest.
Right.
A little bit of leaves right there. Don't want to get the whole thing is you can't TV snow anything. Don't TV snow. Did anyone have like TV so long ago that you would like try to see a show that wasn't quite coming in and you would try to watch it through the snow?
You were like, I can barely hear
see
it. If I could get enough to hear what they were saying, you know,
Yeah.
I would watch it.
So I'm going to come in and do my cad red and my cad yellow. And this is going to get me into a brighter kind of orange. Right? And we're going to kind of come here and maybe pop in some lighter. And then that's going to help me see where I've got to fill in the darker, if that makes sense. Sometimes when I pop in the brighter, I'm like, oh, I need a lot more.
Hmm.
Let's go grab some of that green yellow. Put it down there at the bottom.
It looks orangey up there next to the other colors.
Yeah, we're just getting a little of that green and yellow. It's just, it explains what's in the forest floor. And keep going. Rinse out a little bit. So right now, my kids and I are doing this thing. We're doing book club.
Book club.
Book club, which just means that we're reading together in the evenings. It's just something nice that we can do. And the kids they pick a book and I pick a book. And my son has been on me to get him the yellow wallpaper.
Mm.
He just wants to read the yellow wallpaper. So we got the yellow wallpaper and read it last night. And I was like, this is a very strange book for him to want. But, you know, the reader wants what the reader wants.
Yep.
And he loved it. He was like listening. Because I get it for them in the book form. I get an audio book copy of it. And then we all read it together so we can practice our read out loud. And which is how my kids have listened to the Watsons Go to Birmingham no less than 8,000 times. Because when they like a book, they put it on repeat. And he is like so into the yellow wallpaper. And I asked him after it was over, I'm just mixing my orange right now, what it meant. And if he didn't completely understand the context of that little book, and he talked about like you know how her, well, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it because there's a movie too, but it was just terrific. And when I told him there was a movie, he got so excited. I don't let them watch the movie first. I'm adding a little purple to my mix.
No.
I don't. We have to read it first. That's a big rule in our family. You got to read the book. And there's so many books that I love that I'm excited to share with them. You know, my choice for him was The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
So we're doing that right now because we finished that, and I think I'm going to also probably pull him into Don Quixote. There's just so many good ones. There's like Tuck Everlasting. There's just so many books I want to share. So glad to have the kids enjoy reading. Honey actually even likes reading. Honey got the Color Purple and Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale. So Honey loves when Honey gets into a book to like dissect it and then come down in very intense ways and tell me like all kinds of things. So I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the intense moment. To Kill a Mockingbird, we barely got through that. Of Mice and Men. Oh, yeah, so good. So good. I'll go back through and like check out y'all's reading recommendations. Just see, I'm just being careful, right? I'm not letting it get too many decisions on me a little bit, like yet more yellow orange here. The light being more focused here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Add some little bit to, just like the forest floor, we have to be so careful with where we put that light, don't we? Oh, Beth says that her grandson loves graphic novels Lock and Key and The Umbrella Academy. Both very good.
Oh, yeah.
I think graphic novels can be much better than people realize.
Yes.
Dracula is very good. We got a recommendation for Dracula and Dorian Gray. Oh, man. Some people just have a portrait in their attic, don't they? Some people, you just like, you know it. You're like, you look too good. You got a portrait in your attic somewhere. All right. We're just coming through. Coming in with a little more red. Just a little more of the cat red. Guys, we're nearly done.
It looks so good.
I think this was a fun painting. I'm going to turn this upwards for me just so I'm seeing it well. Making sure that I am very happy with the look of it. Because that's important, is being happy with the look of it. Moby Dick. Moby Dick is one. Actually, Moby Dick relates. Lori Petit recommended Moby Dick. And interestingly enough, like Moby Dick came up with John and I a lot in the early gaming days.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be like, you're going Captain Ahab. We got to let it go. Good lessons.
Yeah.
Just going along. And I can take some of these bright colors, right? I take some of my bright red. Put a couple places down below.
Oops.
Along there. I'm loving it. All right, guys, I think we did it.
Yeah?
I don't know where we at.
I think it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Getting a little of that green yellow again. You know what it is I need some of this with the white in it. I need a couple of these to have a little. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Couple of these leaves have to have a little extra light on them. That's what it is.
Earlier there was a question about mixing burnt sienna. I'm not sure if you saw that.
So if you've got to mix it, believe it or not, red and green can get you to a burnt sienna. Really, it's orange and green, but biased on the red. And I have a whole video about mixing brown if you don't have brown. And we do every color from raw sienna to yellow ochre to burnt sienna to burnt umber. But we don't have any brown. We do it with primary colors. So if the mods know where that is and they can drop that in the chat, that would be super fantastic, I think. think we're good, guys.
Yeah, it's looking pretty fantastic.
I love this. This was just an enjoyable day. I am very much looking forward to doing the corgi tomorrow. I hope you guys really loved this painting. Yeah, it's not any faster digitally, I can tell you that.
Let me see if I can do this. Oh, you're big again. I was able to put you over there.
I'm going to put a little signature on here with kind of my orange color. I don't want to do a color that isn't in the painting. Like I wouldn't do like phthalo blue undiluted over here. And I don't think I really would do red because I don't want to pull that much attention to this lower corner. It's a shadow. It's okay if I've got a signature so people know who made it, but I don't want to overwhelm the whole painting with it. Guys, thank you for spending this time with me today. It meant everything. I hope you enjoyed it. What I really hope... Oh, Connie Valere says, love this painting. And Martha says, love this painting. And Amy's like, hug the Sherpa. And Kenny is the season for Living Dead. They're coming to get you, Tammy. Well, our Halloween this year is more... I'm going to say his name wrong. Guillermo del Toro.
I think that's pretty close.
If you think like... more of his like kind of dark fairy tales like Pan Labyrinth or The Good Hellboy, but it's not Hellboy, but like the good like design aesthetic of it, where it's a fairy tale but it's a little darker in the fairy tale. Not like Hans Christian Andersen dark. I love reading book reviews where people like read the original fairy tales and they're just like, this is not child appropriate. I'm like, no, it's not. They were really dark. Not that dark, but like just a little bit eerie or a little bit magical or a little bit fantasy. So the colors are there and the mist is there and it's just nothing scary. I don't know if you guys can't necessarily always see ahead all the way to the end of all the live scheduled. So you have to go to the calendar to see it. But the last is like an adorable dragonlet. But I really tried not to do anything that was scary. And for the reason many of you suggested, which is like the world has been unrelenting lately. Fear, 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 terror, 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 fear, fear. Yep. And y'all didn't feel like doing it. I didn't feel like doing it. So we didn't do it.
Nope.
We're just kind of like a fairy tale, but like a little bit darker, you know? And of course we have a Red Riding Hood because I don't think we've done a 13 days without a Red Riding Hood.
No.
I think we've had her in every single one. I'm going to have to do the wolf at some point, but he's going to have to come in because I've done that. I love spending today with you guys. We will get the mini book out. It's just going to take us a little longer, but it will get there. So be patient with us. Enjoy the traceable. This will remain up. This will remain free. And Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific, we will be painting a corgi with some flowers on the crown. We suggested that I change it to Queen Elizabeth's favorite flowers, which were primrose and lily of the valley.
Yeah.
And I may include some primrose and lily in the valley into that crown.
Okay.
For those of you that are painting it for that reason. And then some of you may just be like, I like primrose and lily of the valley and corgis, so I'm there. But it's just saddest corgi in the world. It's so sad.
So sad.
So sad. It's a very sad corgi. So I hope you come join me for that. And then next Tuesday, 13 Days of Halloween kicks off. So hit that subscribe button.
We're back.
And make sure you ring the bell. You know, so YouTube tells you that we're on. Sign up for the text messages, which is Art Sherpa texted to 33222.
Yep.
Go by the website, get your newsletter. If you're having any trouble getting signed an account on the website or your newsletter, write support at theartsherpa.com, attention newsletter, and let us know what's going on, because we've been able to help so far almost everybody get the newsletter. Right? So far. And I may go back to putting the newsletter in the blog, so that if you can't get the newsletter, you can at least see in the blog. And the newsletter is going to have all 13 paintings, the color list for everything that we're doing, and the canvases. So you know, like, what colors we have and how many 8x8s and how many 9x12. So you know that, and you know, maybe all the traceables. So we'll see how that's going to go. Tony Stack says, thank you, Cinnamon John Mods, and each of you. Bye to everyone. Have a beautiful day. Be good to yourselves. Please be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.